Erin. I'm the Los Angeles Regional Director of the California Republican Liberty Caucus, and I'm here with JJ and Nick, who are members of our local chapter. We're here to review Rand Paul's book, Taking a Stand. In this book, Rand Paul, he goes into a discussion of who he is, where he came from, how he met his wife, and he talks about his medical practice and uses a lot of really interesting analogies to discuss politics in America. What did you guys think of Rand's book?
I really liked just the way he took topics that people may not have ever really considered and brought it to them in a way that is accessible. So, for instance, he talked about a couple things that are relatively boring by themselves, but somehow putting them together and made them interesting. And that was the price of money, the interest rate from the Federal Reserve, and how that relates to his medical practice in understanding insulin and blood sugar levels. So, you'll have to read the book, but I'm telling you, it was very interesting how he brought these two ideas together. And, I like the book as a whole, but that one point stuck out for me.
Yeah, no, he definitely takes the book and he definitely belabors the point that he's a doctor and he's done he's done numerous cataract surgeries, and finally you get where he's going with it, where it's, look, here are the ailments in America that I'm diagnosing, and here's my prescription. And that just does wonders in terms of getting all the metaphors, especially economic, like you said. But then also explaining kind of the libertarian philosophy that is kind of driving his campaign, where his Hippocratic Oath says, "Thou shalt do no harm." And as a doctor, you're responsible for the unintended consequences that maybe were perceived or unperceived when you give someone a specific prescription and then they react to it. So it's really understand that while government always has some sort of cure for whatever's ailing America, they don't politicians necessarily think out the unintended consequences that a lot of their kind of state-driven programs end up providing to the people.
Yeah, I definitely think that Rand Paul's trying to look at those unintended consequences and come up with different perspectives and solutions. A big part of his book is talking about how he has a different Republican perspective and wants to promote change within the Republican Party to make it a better party, to make the parties less bipartisan. His subtitle is Moving Beyond Partisan Politics to Unite America. How do you guys think that he's able to successfully do this in his book and talk about his new vision for the Republican Party?
If this book is picked up by anyone, I think it's going to be people who are just trying to get to know trying to find their introduction, find their way into politics. What's their label? What do I call myself? Am I Team A or Team B? And Rand Paul's prescriptions for the different ailments that the country faces, they aren't anything that fits into some pre-packaged box, right? So Rand Paul is showing them that we need to talk about the foundational problems, get to the root of the problem, and it helps you understand politics in Washington, D.C. that much better. He talks about term limits. How long is someone going to be in office? Should we have a limit, or should it just be unlimited that they can stay in office and get reelected with lobbyist money? He talks about taking on the debt. He talks about taking on the Federal Reserve. He talks about making the people in Congress read the bills before they vote on them. So these ideas are just invaluable. As much as people take them for granted, they're very important that they be understood. And his image of the Republican Party is something that strikes at the Washington machine, as he calls it, but then reaches out to the community. So he's opening up to different parts of the country that the Republican Party doesn't open up to, and he's actually pointing fingers at parts of the government that the Republican Party would rather you not talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think he does this in a way that reaches to all Americans, including not just Republicans, but independents who now outnumber Democrats and Republicans combined, but also even to Democrats. I mean, he makes the promise that he will not cut one penny from the social safety net until every penny is cut from corporate welfare. I don't know who in America, after Jimmy Carter just said that we're an oligarchy, that was staggering that a former president would come out to say that. And it's due to kind of this corporate cronyism that Rand would come out and take that stand saying, I won't even touch, Social Security, Medicare, any of that before we cut all corporate welfare. That is, I think a pretty radical place for a Republican to stand, but that's definitely something that I think almost all Americans could agree with. And he also talks about, hot topic issues that all Republicans are staying away from, which includes the Fourth Amendment, considering his filibuster against the NSA and the Patriot Act. I think that's definitely what he's known for, but he takes that even a step further to talk about the role of police in society and how that relates to the Fourth Amendment as well. He talks about civil asset forfeiture. He's one of the Republicans at the forefront saying, yeah, I agree, there is abuse, and specifically here in civil asset forfeiture, there's no reason this isn't theft if you're not charged with a crime. To take goods from you, that's ridiculous. So he tackles these issues. He traveled to Ferguson. He was the only Republican candidate to travel to Ferguson. And he talks about his experience there. So I think from firsthand experience, he's talking about things that other Republicans just don't have the nerve to touch.
Yeah, it definitely reaches across the lines of the parties and can appeal to a great deal of people. And on that note, who would you guys most recommend this book to?
I would recommend this book to probably someone in my family, probably someone who's not a Republican, and maybe they've heard that Rand Paul is dangerous or strange or weird. So someone who is at least open-minded. You need to be open-minded, but that could be anyone. Beyond that, you don't have to be a Republican. You don't even have to have ever voted before or understand much about politics. He gives a great educational path through the entire government in this. He's been in U.S. politics partly since he was 11 years old, walking and campaigning for his father. But then, relatively, he's new to politics himself. So if you're new to politics, I'd recommend this to you.
Yeah, I think Rand says it himself when he's writing for the so-called "leave me alone" generation. Like we said earlier, half of people have just completely abandoned the two-party system in both parties, and they don't want to be identified by either brand. And he's the only Republican calling for a rebrand of Republicanism. When we have the current brands of Trump and Bush taking center stage, the fact that all Republicans aren't calling for something fresh and different, it's mind-boggling to me. And I think Rand, people will see if they read this book that he sees that the party needs some work, that we need to have a broader tent to bring everybody into the tenets of conservatism.
Absolutely. It's a great book. It has something in it for everyone. It's great for newcomers to political discussions. He talks about his love for the environment. He talks about the issues that there are with Obamacare and our healthcare situation. And for the libertarians out there, he quotes Murray Rothbard and Ludwig von Mises. It's a great book. We'd recommend it to people of any political party and any level of political knowledge. So go out and read yourself taking a stand.
We all smiled.
Awesome.
I think that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was
How
good.
many minutes?